All right, guys, this is a History PR podcast. We have Aubrey Wood here with us today. Hey, Audrey, how you doing?
Good, Scott.
Good. So we tried it a different way, but it didn't work out. So we're gonna just record with the phone. I'm gonna hold my hand up the whole time. So as we talked about, we're gonna have to go over it again. But just a little background, Aubrey, on when you got started in racing.
Yeah, well, I was around with my father when I was a kid. I was an only boy, so I was with him most of the time. We had a barn on Somerset Street, and he used to jog the horses to the racetrack to train them in the spring. And I used to go with him with a pony. I was only young, and he trained the horse, and then we'd drive back to Somerset Street. And he used to run a riding school off of Somerset Street back in the 40s. And it was quite busy.
Yeah.
He had quite a few saddle horses, plus he had race horses. And I guess that's where I started.
So yeah, it's almost like, I think for a lot of us that have parents involved in it, it's kind of almost engraved in our blood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, pretty much everybody, the whole families all went. Like
yeah.
the Kirkpatricks, they were all together.
Yeah.
And Everett Benson and his family was together. Ray Thomas and their families were together. Mm-hmm. Everybody was at the racetrack when they had horses.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I know just for myself personally, my father was involved, my grandfather was involved, my whole family was involved.
Yeah.
So my first memory is being a little kid running around down there. And
back in the early 40s, there was a lot of riding schools. Mm-hmm. Like my father had a riding school. There was a riding school out at Gilper's Lane that Sandy Johnson used to run. Joe Hattie had a riding school on Prince Edward Street, and Williams had a riding school on Aaron Street. There was all saddle horses then, and then they got into Nod Racehorse, so that's the way it went from there.
So back then, like in the 40s, it's pretty busy. You were saying before, down Moose Path. It's a pretty happening spot.
It was packed. The racetrack was packed on a race day because there was nothing else really. That was the only thing going.
Yeah.
And then they used to race their horses in the Winter Street along Russell Street.
Okay.
They'd go in sleighs and race in the Winter Street because there was no cars hardly then either.
Yeah.
You know, and out around the lake is where they used to ride their horses, and it was all bare ground. It was no pavement.
Yeah.
It was all just gravel. Yeah.
So you started racing at 16, you said. That's when you had...
At 16, I rode a little horse called Maggie's Boy out of a mare, Miss MacDale. I raced him with my first horse to drive. And I raced him when I was 16. And then 17, I raced a little trot horse called Dr. Bunter. He was my first horse I win with.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that first win? Must have been pretty exciting when you got your first win.
Pretty good. I win both dashes.
Yeah.
But the story on him was, like my father trained him, and I trained him most of the time in the spring. Like I was 15, 16. I trained him in the spring, and we trained him on the pace. Mm-hmm. Race day come, he was a pacer. He was in to go. So anyway, the man that owned him lived in Fredericton. He come down and passed us the papers. Here, they're trot papers. And we never trotted the horse before.
Yeah.
Like he jogged on the trot, but that was it. So he's all warmed up with the hobbles on. So my father says, take the hobbles off. I'll put a set of bell boots on him, a set of brace bandages front, a set of knee boots, and brace him behind, and away you go. Good luck. I said, good luck. So out I went with him, and only win both heats.
Oh,
wasn't too fast. 18, 19 is all I'd go back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I turned around that year, I give him a new record, and I give him a record of 2:15. He only had a record of 16.
Yeah.
There was another old horse was 15 or 16 for Henry White. I used to train him and race him for old Henry, and cripes didn't I give him a record of 15. So I had two old horses that were 15, they both got records of 15. And I was 16, so there
So you were pretty up and coming. Like, you were good right away. They pretty much knew you had the talent in you.
Well, Dr. Duggan was the presiding judge, and he give me my papers right away.
Yeah.
When they give me my license, I got them right away because I had been training from the time I was 13 on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so I didn't have any problem that way.
And And you were saying before, like, the older generation was pretty good with you because your father was well respected.
Yeah,
you were, yeah.
Yeah, they all thought the world of me. Like, if I was a young kid, and I was the only kid, the only boy. So they kind of looked after me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they might have been able to beat me. I don't know.
Because I know I was just thinking about that. Like, I was writing my questions and I thought, well, I wonder how the old timers would have treated.
Yeah.
But I mean, I used to talk to, me and Bruce were talking about it last night. Yeah. And Bruce even said, well, Aubrey was well respected and his father was well respected too.
Yeah.
Like your father, Curry, was, yeah.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Doherty and Mo Doherty and them thought the world of my father. He was a good horseman. He could take cripples and get them raced. They could hardly walk, and he'd have them out racing.
Yeah. So your father won the Monctonian too, you said, in 50. Was it in the 50s?
Way back, well, probably 50 or late, early 60s.
Yeah.
Right handy there, yeah.
Now, did he race right up to the, and I know he passed away in the late 70s?
He passed away when he was 64, but he'd been sick before that for a year or so, yeah. But he raced right up until the end. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because
he raced with me. He beat me a few times. I beat him a few times. One time, that horse, that young topper that won the Monctonian, he was in to go, and there was time to go. What was his name? There was Marta Hell. I had her. He had young topper, and Timely Rain. Mikey Doyle had him, and my father drew the outside, and I said, "Don't leave, Dad, because I'm leaving with Marta Hal." I said, "I'm going to go to the front." He said, "Don't worry about Ob. You drive yours, I'll drive mine." When they hollered go, he was gone. That's the end. That's the end I seen of him. I still haven't seen him yet. I still seen the tail end of him.
That's awesome. So you guys, you guys raced together a lot. Like you guys had a lot of races together.
Then we did, yeah.
Were you competitive towards each other? Like pretty competitive against each other when you raced each other?
Yeah.
So
then I went out on I got my own stable after that, and a bit late in the 70s, and then I got hurt bad in 71.
Yeah.
I had my own stable then, but then I went to work for Milton Downey.
So one of the horses in that stable was More Than Fair. That's one of the big horses.
No, well, that was John Davies had her. I just test drove her.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you took her up to Rockingham in 69, did you not? I think it was?
Well, John Davison sent her down to Bobby Stevenson.
Okay.
He had her in 69 down there, and she was jumping on him. So John asked me to go down and drive her.
Mm-hmm.
And there was kind of a secret to driving her, so I went down and I drove her, and I win down there. And that's John Barton Beansy, they called him, at the horse's head, because he was working in Rockingham with Jimmy. He was with Jimmy down there. And I went with her there, and then next week he wanted me to go back again because she was into going Suffolk. I went down there and I finished second with her down there. Yeah, she was a nice trotter, but she was a little fussy to drive. Yeah.
So you had association with Milton Downey too?
Oh yeah, I had a bunch of horses for Milton. I had 13, 14 horses for Milton.
There was a story, I think. Did you tell me, was it Milton that you guys went to the island and Doug Caldwell pulled a little stunt on you guys?
Oh yeah.
What was that story again that happened?
We come back from the island, and I had 5 horses, and Doug blamed it on me for taking the horses to the island. Milton always went to the island.
Yeah.
So we come back from the island. I went to put the horses in the stall. The stalls were all locked. So I called him on Milton, and I said, "Milton, the stalls are locked. They're taken." "Oh," he says, "anything in them?" I said, No, there's padlocks on." "Oh, well, I'll be right out." Out he come with a chain cutters, and he cut all the chains, put the horses in. He went over the next day and thanked Doug for saving his stalls.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard stories with Doug Caldwell. I mean,
oh, yeah.
I know he was a businessman, but he was a little bit hot-headed, I think.
He was strict.
Yeah. But, I mean, he ran some successful times down there when he was there.
Yeah, he ran the show.
Yeah, definitely. He was in there. When did he come in? Did he come in the 50s, was it?
50s. My father had 2 horses for him. And he raced them for Doug.
Mm-hmm.
And then Doug went out on his own, took the 2 of them himself.
He actually went and raced, did he?
Huh?
He raced it?
No, he never drove. He never drove. He never jogged.
Okay.
Yeah, but he owned these 2 horses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Frisco O'Donnell, and then there was another mare he had. Yeah.
So a couple horses I've been told to ask you about is Gazelle LaBelle, Bonnie.
That's an old horse that Milton had that I used to drive all the time.
Yeah.
He was my favorite for Milton's. Yeah,
When was that?
that was, well, after I got in the 70s.
Okay. Yeah.
I was hurt. I was crippled.
Yeah, we'll get into that because I mean, you don't mind talking about that, do you?
No, no.
Like I don't want to like bring
No,
back bad memories,
no.
but I have the exact date. It's March 27th of 71
Yeah.
that you got in the accident. It was 5 years involved. So what happened? What was the situation? Like what happened there?
Well, they went into the first turn, and Jackie Bernard was on the outside, and Dave Chapman was in behind him, and I was in behind Dave Chapman, and Jackie kind of come in close to Dave, hit the mare in the legs, and down she went. When she went down, I went down, and Boyd Tremere went in the center field, and Donnie Queen come from behind, and I was standing up, and he run over me. He couldn't see me, like he didn't know what was happening, and he went over top of me. I busted an ankle, broke it right off, and I had 7 stitches in my nose and 4 discs in my neck. And I come home. I was home for a week, and I started passing blood, and they took me back in. Here my kidney was busted, and I had to put a tube in my kidney to my bladder, and I spent 3 months in the hospital.
Jesus.
But Milton was a great man. When I got out of the hospital, my job was still there waiting for me 3 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did a lot of work with him. So Gazelle LaBelle, that would have been what, the mid 70s that you had that horse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
70 to 80, in between 70 and 80, yeah.
Okay, and Bonnie Walter, would that be another
Bonnie
one?
Waller was another one. We had Bachelor Boy and
Yep.
We had a bunch of them.
Jet A Boy was another one. Or Jet Boy A.
Jet Boy A. I took him to the island.
For the Gold
He
Cup.
was in the Gold Cup and Saucer, Jet Boy A.
How'd you do with him?
He was fifth with him in
Fifth.
the Cup and Saucer.
Okay.
He only had a record of 6-1.
Okay.
That was in 73.
So also, I heard that you almost won the Alexander in 73.
Yeah.
Came second?
Second. I was second with a horse called Hilton Highway.
Yep.
Not known, another New Zealand horse.
Okay.
Hilton Highway.
So was
Gaughan's Butler win it.
yeah.
I was second. And I think I might have been able to beat him, but he had me by about 4 lengths at the head of the stretch.
Okay.
And I never got at this Hilton Highway horse. And Gaughan's Butler win it. Yeah.
So when that accident happened in 71, like that really, was it something more health why you didn't drive all the time anymore? Or was it more just like you didn't really want
No,
to?
I had a bad ankle, and then
Yeah.
my kidney was bothering me, and my neck was bothering me, so I just didn't bother that much
Yeah.
more. I used to drive the good-mannered one pretty well,
Yeah.
but the other pullers and stuff like Milton used to drive them.
Yeah.
The best horse I had for Milton that I ever drove was Bachelor Boy N.
Yeah.
I went in 2-2 with him. That's the fastest I ever went in my life, was 2-2.
I think, did you break a record, I think, with him?
Huh?
Did you break a record with him or?
No, but that was the best trip I ever had, was 2-2
Okay.
with him. Yeah.
And yeah, you had him up in the island for there, and then so, like we're big, like I'm big on the 70s, so, like mids, like kind of explain like Exhibition Park mid 70s, like 75, 76, 77. It's a pretty big place to be, am I right?
Oh yeah, it
Like-
was the top spot.
Yeah, like you're.
It was the main racetrack.
Yeah, because they're doing
There
big.
was Halifax, there was Halifax, and Moncton was going some then, but that was all. But one time when I started, there was St. John, there was St. Stephen's, there was Fredericton, there was Woodstock, there was Sussex, there was Bucktooth, St. Anthony. There was
Wow.
all them racetracks all going.
So it's just nonstop.
Yeah,
Like you guys always had a place to go.
yeah.
Like, because you almost race every day, pretty much. I would think. Like some of them places would go like,
Well, no, they all mostly went on the weekend.
yeah,
Mostly all Saturday. But,
yeah,
Doug Cowell started it twice a week.
yeah.
And that's when we went twice a week.
So what was your guys' thought when he did that? You think that was a little crazy? That he was going to go twice a week? Do you think he had enough horses to do it, or?
Well, no, there was lots of horses.
Yeah.
We had the barns were full. You couldn't get your horses in half the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there's cool pictures some people posted, like even in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Just like you look at them barns, it looks like a happening place to be. There's cars everywhere, there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
I have a video of I think it was 76, and it's in the paddock area,
Yeah.
And even you see Wally. Wally's really young in that video. He comes Wally. It's like looks to be about his early 20s.
Well, Wally was in his he was in his teens.
Yeah.
When he walked through his barn, through my barn, I had McFadden's horses in from the island. They had 4 or 5 of his horses.
Yep.
He walked through to see what was going on, and he was heading for the boats. He was going to work on the boats.
Yeah.
And he went down and he worked a week or a couple of days. He didn't like it, so he come back to the racetrack, and that's where he stayed.
Yeah, yeah. And he had a good career here too, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I got all them 80s videos from Steve and
He
Twyla.
had good horse. He drove some of mine too when I had them later on.
Yeah.
Later years, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely cool. Let's see where we're at now. So, and you're also pretty close to Jimmy Doherty back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy and us were always good friends.
Yeah. And I have a picture of me meeting Jimmy when I'm like 8, I think, and it's like meeting the biggest hockey player or something in the world because I'm such a big fan of everything, right?
Yeah.
I got to meet him when I was younger. There's a picture somewhere of me meeting him, but
he's an awful friendly man. Jimmy was an awful nice fella.
yeah. My father, I think he worked for my father when my father passed. I think my father worked for him when my father passed away.
Yeah, I think your father did work for Jimmy.
Yeah, because I remember seeing him or Jimmy. Anytime I only met him a few times, but just a very, very nice man. Like,
awful friendly. He was always had time for you.
Yeah, real sweet man, and hell of a horse driver. I'll tell you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, I seen races, the '84 Provincial Cup, I think it was. I had a tape of it. I put it up on the page, and he's sitting in 7th, right to like almost at the 3/4 pole, and then just comes out of 7th and just goes to the front like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Just like that.
He came here with 2 or 3 horses, like different times.
Yeah.
And win with them, from away.
Yeah, he would come down for the big race and stuff. Yeah, definitely. And also, like, you did a lot of breeding too, like you and your wife Linda, back in the '80s, did you not? At Golden Grove.
Yeah. I had 4 or 5 bears out there.
Yeah.
I bred colts. Some of them turned out, some of them didn't. So
Yeah.
that's the way it was.
It's kind of basically part of the game there. And also, your daughters are both involved now, are they not, in the racing business?
Yeah. Well, one daughter now, she was down the state straight early.
Yeah.
She was married to Wayne Watson, and they went to the States. I give them April Power to take with them.
Yeah.
That's the only way they could get in.
Mm-hmm.
So I give them her to take down, and they went down. They stayed a while. She was there for years. She's been there. She's still there. Now she's into the saddle horses. She don't bother with the race horses.
Yeah.
Then I've got Natalie. She's at the racetrack now.
Mm-hmm.
She's around there with Butch White.
Yeah.
And she loves it. Yeah. And the 2 boys, they never bothered. The other girls, they bothered some. Jackie's, she used to bother. She had a mare, This Hit's For You.
Mm-hmm.
She had her for a couple of years. But they never bothered. They got out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I know from my perspective, like, I was obsessed with it as a child. And then I got older, kind of veered off a little bit. But I still always had respect for it.
Yeah.
I always knew, like, I remember going to the exhibition as a kid, like a teenager, but I'd always go to the track.
Yeah.
I'd always go up and see everybody and check it out. And now getting older and reminiscing a lot more, right? It's, it's being a kid, it was the place to be. And like I said to you before we started filming, I was there when it was downtime. I didn't even get to experience the good times. I didn't get to experience the 70s, which I'd love to, but there's no way I could do except for through film.
Linda and me used to go up to your mother's place. You were only a little boy then.
Yeah.
You were only maybe a year or 2 years old.
Yeah.
We used to always go up there, after the races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, heard stories my grandparents used to have after race parties too back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
They'd have the big parties up there at the big house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... No, it's definitely... it's interesting, for sure. I mean, like, hearing all the stories about that. But that's really good. Thank you, Aubrey. That's cool. I appreciate that. I appreciate taking your time today and telling us a few stories there.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So everyone will enjoy it. And thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Aubrey.
Well, good, Scott. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pierre Podcasts. We have Aubrey Wood here for a second time today. So how you doing today, Aubrey?
Not too bad.
Raining again like usual.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first time we did our interview. It was raining too.
Rained, I think so, yeah.
So basically, we're going to do another one quick because popular demand. Everyone loved the first one.
Well, thank you.
they were pretty excited about it. So I figured, stop back in and go over a couple more things. We got some pictures we're going to go over and some questions. So I'm going to actually ask one thing because I seen a really cool thing. I was going through, you gave me all them pictures.
Yeah.
There's an article with you. Was it true, or you might have just been joking? You were really small when you first started, they said,
85
right?
pounds.
So did your dad was he really concerned about putting you on the bike to race?
Yeah.
So he was like a little bit...
He didn't want me to get on. He put me on and then he wanted to get me off. He said he's too small, he's going to get hurt.
So you guys seen that. I thought, well, I read the article. I thought, we might be joking, but I'll bring it up. So.
No, it's the truth.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's the truth.
So I have a couple questions. A couple of horses I brought up. Zeppelin, does that ring a bell?
Zeppelin, yeah. He belonged to the Princeton Stables in Maine. I had him in... Yeah, he was a 3-year-old. Yeah.
So when did you have him? Was that in the 60s or?
Probably early 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Widow Jessie.
Widow Jessie, they owned her too.
Okay.
They owned her. Yeah.
So you had a bunch of horses from them?
Well, I had 3 or 4 every year pretty well for a while. Yeah.
Major King.
Major's King. Yeah, I had Major's King. I just used to drive him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question because me and you talked about this before when we were hanging out at the track one day. So you got your accident in 71.
Yeah.
Did you came back you came back, you weren't racing. I know you said you came back to the track a few weeks later.
Well, I come back. I got out of the hospital after I was in for a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the cast put on me and my nose healed up. And then I started passing blood, so they took me back in. Then I was in there for 3 months.
So you came back and raced again.
Yeah.
And then you got another accident, did you not?
Another accident.
Right afterwards?
With Marcel Berrio. Well, it was shortly after, yeah.
So what happened?
Me and Marcel Berrio, his horse made a jump. My horse hooked wheels, and another fellow come along, caught the other side, and tore the bike in two. So I was down again.
So that must have been, were you second guessing stuff then at that point? Like, get your second record, were you kind of thinking maybe I might want to do something different here?
No, not really. Not really. That's my life.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It was just, I remember you telling me that. And I was thinking, like, man, I think that first wreck would really freak you out. The second one, I'd be like, I don't know about this. I know my father, I heard a story about him. He was racing, I actually had the article. He was racing in the early 80s.
Yeah.
It was him and Ross McDonald, and they were in the backstretch, and Ross was pushing his horse. And I guess my father knew the whole time this horse is going down.
Yeah.
And he went down, and I guess my father flew into the infield, broke his hip.
Yeah.
And Ross just fell off the horse like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And when they got the ambulance, they took Ross on the stretcher and left my father in the front seat. And I think that might be a time to question why you're doing it. And I still remember vividly seeing him in the hospital at that point. I read another cool article. Bachelor Boy N, you were grabbing both lines with one hand. You were trying to get the whip from the saddle, from the sulky.
Under the sulky, yeah.
So what happened then?
Because he used to pull. He used to grab on pretty well, so I put the whip down under. I was sitting on it.
Yeah.
So I put both reins up the backside. I put both reins in one hand and reached down and grabbed the whip. When I grabbed the whip up, I was up to 3/4 pole and I was going around Power Baron and Scotch Gum, and then like they were standing still. I got the whip out, didn't even need it. He drove right on, and I went in 2-2. That was the best trip I ever drove. So that was the fastest.
That's awesome. Yeah, I said that. I see that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was a fast horse.
Yeah, so you had him, I'm Scotch Gum Power Baron would be mid-70s?
Yeah, yeah.
So Bachelor Ben, is that the horse that you had?
It's one of them New Zealand horses.
Oh, okay.
The Milton Downies. I worked for Milton. I worked for Milton from 71 till 80, I guess it was, when I left him. Yeah.
And then you went to the railroad.
Then I went to the railroad after that, yeah.
I know Bachelor Boy N. Is that the horse you had in the Alexander, or you had him in the Gold Cup?
No, he wasn't in. I had Jet Boy A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jet Boy A in the Cup.
You also did some ice racing, too. You told me that before.
Used to race Gagetown. Yeah.
So how was, I know Marcel brought that up in the last podcast. That's a lot different than racing, obviously.
It's straight ahead. You go 1/4 of a mile straight ahead, yeah.
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 And you got to do a lot of, work to the horse, because, that ice is obviously thick enough. You're not worried about it breaking or anything.
Oh, yeah, they break. They lose a shoe, they went down pretty well. They slid and everything else if they lost a shoe.
So, would there be accidents down there? We have accidents at the track.
Well, horses would fall down if they lost a shoe. They couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I've seen accidents in EPR, doing the tapes, guys Ricky Armstrong.
Yeah.
He already flew in the air once. It was from 80s. I just watched the race, and it was like the middle of winter when he went down. I was like, oh, I almost cringed just watching him go down like that hard surface. I can imagine ice racing.
But on the ice, it's straight ahead. There was no accidents like
Yeah,
it was just straight ahead.
No turns and stuff like
Only
that.
two or three horses in a race, but
Okay.
yeah,
That's cool. So I'm just gonna bring up, a couple names, just kind of your memories of it because you've been around there forever. Willard Carr.
Willard, I raced with Willard a lot. Yeah.
I vaguely remember him as a kid. I remember his accident in '85. I remember being there on Alexander Day, and that was that was a bad wreck that he got into.
Yeah.
Never.
And his father, Frankie, he drove horses.
Yeah. So Willard was around since what, the '50s, '40s, '50s.
Well, Frankie drove in the '40s, but Willard didn't. Willard was later on.
Joe Gauguin.
Joe Gauguin, I raced with Joe. Yeah.
So he was here. Would have been what, the '60s, probably '60s.
Well,
70s?
no, he was at the track in the '50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe was.
And Clarky Smith, who
Clarky.
Is he? I think he's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah, Clarky's still alive. Yeah. He's still living.
He was on the tack room with Prince Edward Island.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Herman Renault.
Herman. Yeah. Raced with Herman.
And Bill Nicholson Sr., who everyone loves. Bill was great.
Yeah.
Basically like a second grandfather to me. The question was Steve Mahar. Was he your groom for a bit before he broke in?
Well, no, he I drove him here for Mel McLaughlin. I can't think of her name now, but I drove her, and Stevie Mahar was a swipe for her that night. Yeah.
Okay.
Lyric Newport.
I seen a picture. I think you gave me. It's weird. 'Cause your horse won. Maybe it was your father's horse won, and either way, Steve was the groom. It would have been right before he started. Or something.
No, that was Lyric Newport. And Stevie was there. He was looking after her.
Okay.
Yeah, I drove her for Mel McLaughlin. Donnie Capress had her.
Okay, because
I drove her that night and it was in the mud.
I remember seeing the picture. And it's either they cut you in because you're not in it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in it except for you.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one for me because I don't really like Francis McCausey. Like I've heard all the stories about Francis. I never got to see him.
Yeah.
Like Francis basically dominated. Would you say down in the EPR back in the '70s, pretty much?
Well, he won a lot of dashes. Yeah. He'd truck in with a load of horses on and go home that night after the races. Yeah.
And someone gave him a lot of credit for bringing winter racing here because he brought a lot of the horses.
Yeah, he brought the horses down to fill the classes.
And I know, looking at like his winning, like I would go through all that old archive stuff, but I put up on the page. Yeah. And I mean, anything 76, like McIsaac wins 4, McIsaac wins 3, like he's winning like crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He win a lot of dashes.
This is an interesting one that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. The Webbies. Did you ever drive any horse for the Webbies?
Yeah, I drove a couple for the Webbies. Yeah.
So,
one thing they told me when I got on the bike, don't get caught in. That was the name you got from Webbies. You go with them, you don't get caught in.
Yeah. So they own tons of horses. I mean, these guys.
They owned a lot of stake horses,
And I want to think they were around, up till the 90s maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Horses? I don't really know when they stopped with the horses.
Well, yeah, they raced horses here, and then they'd race them in Moncton. Yeah.
No, I've heard they were a pretty big deal back then. Trying to think if John Davies. Yeah, John was a pretty big trainer back in the day.
Big John had quite a few horses. I drove quite a few for John.
Yeah. I heard he was big on taping stuff, which would be nice if we. I was talking to Chris, and all the stuff that he had, Chris like, "No, I got water damage." I'm like, "Really?" Because I got everyone always told me go to talk to Chris if you want some tapes. I guess John was big on just tape and everything.
Yeah.
But he had some pretty big horses back then too, John, didn't he?
Big John had Trotmare. I used to drive for him more than fair.
Yeah.
He had her here. I went in 2.6 with her in Fredericton, broke the track record.
Nice.
Had track record here with her in 2.6, and then they sent her down to Rockingham.
Yeah.
So she was down there with Bobby Stevenson, and she was breaking on them. They couldn't get her going.
Yeah.
So John asked me if I go down and drive her.
Yeah.
Well, I said, John, I got horses here. It's a hard job. Get away.
Yeah.
Oh, he said, come down and drive her, Rob. She seems to go good for you. I said, all right. So we left here in the morning, went down. I drove her that night. I went with her in Rockingham.
Yeah.
And Beansy Barton, John Barton's his real name, but they all called him Beansy.
Yeah.
He was in the paddock with me and Big John. We got her. She win that night.
Nice.
And then the next week he wanted me to go back again. I said, no, I can't. So then he put her in down at Suffolk Downs. So he said, will you come down and drive her? I said, yeah, I'll go down. I went down. I finished second with her there. And then he brought her back home. I raced her back home here.
So you guys put a lot of miles in back then driving. That's one thing people don't really talk about, about the amount of driving you guys would do to different tracks.
Oh, yeah. It was, well, what is it, 500 miles to Boston?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we were. Yeah.
So you guys would like drive down and then like drive right back a lot of the
time. Oh, no, not really. We'd stay overnight.
Yeah.
And then come back the next morning.
Yeah. But so like you guys would drive the like Foxborough, stuff like that.
Foxborough. Yeah.
And then like even around here, like you had Moncton, you had Charlottetown.
Oh yeah, well that was all just drive over and back, you know that. Back the same night.
Brian Moore, that's one. I remember Brian a bit. Not too much. I remember him as a kid, but I only met him a few times. But I was unfortunate. He passed away really young. A lot of nice things I've had.
He was only 50.
Yeah.
When he died. Yeah.
Very sudden. Yeah. And the nice. I remember. Like I knew all these guys, but this is a blur to me because I've seen them all as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And when you're like 4 or 5 years old, you don't.
Yeah.
But Brian, I remember seeing Brian later as a teenager and being super quiet, like kind of a quiet guy.
Brian had 2 or 3 bad accidents.
Yeah.
At the end of it was kind of getting to him. It was his nerves, I think.
Yeah.
And then.
Unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and we would talk about that quick. I'll kind of jump into that. Like when you get into it, like you had your bad accident.
Oh, I had 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
Like, how does it start to kind of play with your head a little bit after a while? Do you start getting a little?
Well, you think about it before you go out, but once you get behind the gate, you forget about it. Then it just kind of goes away. Yeah.
Are you like more cautious of certain things that you would do?
Yeah.
Say, for example, when you were younger,
yeah,
you'd race a certain way. Would you race a different way after a few accidents, or just kind of go with it like usual?
Well, you kind of get back to your own after you have 2 or 3 drives. You're back to yourself again. Yeah. But I got in a bad one in Woodstock too. I broke every rib and fractured my arm and tore the side of my face. I landed on the hub rail. I went over a horse's back and landed on the hub rail. And I was laid up that time quite a while. I laid up a month there with my ribs.
What year was that?
That was back in the early 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like them like watching them hub rails.
Yeah. Well, them hub rails was a bad rig. It was great. Yeah. Great when they took them out.
Yeah.
Took them out was a great thing.
I was watching a race in the Meadowlands with Joe O'Brien.
Yeah.
I found on YouTube, and I don't know what it was, but the horse jumped. He was in second, I think. I think he was trying to get up there. The horse jumped. The horse literally landed like halfway on the hub rail.
Yeah.
And Joe went flying, hit the hub rail hard on, like head on.
Yeah.
And it was brutal. Even when it happened to Willard, like when Willard hit the hub.
When you hit the hub rail, you know, you don't move that plank. When you hit it, it don't move.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and it was good that they got rid of it. It took a long time, but it was good. And I know now, like with
my father, he raced with Joe O'Brien. He raced with Joe O'Brien back then, back in the 40s, late 40s.
When did your father start? What years? Like 30s, probably. Your father would have started.
Well, no, around 40.
Yeah.
Around 40, he started hauling coal. Him and Everett Benson and Ray Thomas Construction there. Yeah. They all got into the race game somehow. I don't know. Bought an old horse and they all were racing it. So.
Because it's interesting. Yeah, I remember I was going through some old articles. Like these were super. I think these were like in the 30s. Yeah. And they were starting to revive EPR because they had it in the 1800s and stuff. And They had like a little spike and then it went down and then they were bringing it back kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely cool. But yeah, that's basically it for the drivers, really. I just kind of put a couple guys down that I thought about it. We actually got a couple questions too, which is on Facebook. I put a couple of things up. So one question is, if you drove any trotter or any colts to state victories, I think that's the question. Yeah. Just winning stake races, pretty much.
I win with a trotter.
Yeah.
Little Dr. Bunner. I win with him the first horse I ever win with.
Yeah.
And I quit. My last drive was with Win the Big One.
Yeah.
He was a trotter.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of trotters in between. There was Car Hanover, there was the Baker, there was Mary Dillon. I drove pretty near all the trotters pretty well.
So trotters, even I remember being a kid and going to exhibition week, and they'd have a big purse for the trotters.
Yeah.
And them trotters were they were very unpredictable.
Yeah. But see, there was no I had a trotter there one time. And I tried a set of trot hobbles on them. We tried something different.
Yeah.
Nobody had trot hobbles them days. Yeah. Now they all wear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back then there was no. They jumpers, run and go.
Oh, I remember being at Exhibition Week, and I was with them. I actually have been staying with Paula, probably Bill's granddaughter, It's me and her were good friends. Somebody. But I remember being a girl, and we're watching the race, and it was trotters, and a trotter jumped, and the guy who was on him fell off, and the trotter was just running around like crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like coming like, I don't think it was like over the fence, but it's like you're starting to think a little bit like, oh, I better back up. Like,
better back off the
like,
fence.
this horse is out of control.
Yeah.
But I was even like, I was watching it with my friend, and I remember the PEI one that had some trotters.
Yeah.
And I knew like right away, I could just see us, they're trotters.
There's lots of trotters now on the island. They got lots of trotters. But back here now, like that one, when the big one was, he there was only 5 trotters. That's all they could find in St. John.
They were rare, yeah. They were definitely rare. Yeah. Another question I have you ever heard of a pacer called Danny Boy?
Danny Boy, yeah.
So you know what that horse?
Yeah. Lawson's used to own him. Hazen Patrick had him.
Okay.
And then Gordon McLeod bought him afterwards. My father had him. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So,
he used to be a puller. He could take quite a hold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last thing before we get to the pictures is me and you were talking, because I did the Marcel interview.
Yeah.
We were talking about Trade and Mirror. You told me the story about Trade and Mirror.
Yeah, well, that was Trade and Mirror. That's when I got in the accident.
Okay.
That was Trade and Mirror.
Yeah.
She used to kind of plant her toes. She'd make it break and stop. Yeah. Remember Marcel said he had scars from Trade and Mirror.
Yeah. I know.
That was her.
What was it? Russell was telling me. That's the thing. Like, that horse was just, wasn't the easiest horse in the world.
That was one of his poorer ones.
Yeah, he wasn't a big fan. He kind of gave that idea. Yeah. So I'm going to come over, and I'm going to bring some pictures with me.
Yeah.
And I got them numbered, so because I'll let people in on the secret. Yeah. Basically, I'm going to show them to you, and then I'm going to edit them into the podcast.
I see.
Once we're done. But we'll just go over and just kind of, give me an idea. That's basically it for that part there. I'm going to come into the frame here so people get to see me, I guess. So, you might just see the pictures coming out here. So this one here, you just go ahead and tell me.
That is my father.
Yeah.
With Lawyer Grattan. That's the old racetrack.
Yeah.
I'm standing up on top of the thing, canteen. There used to be a canteen there.
Yeah.
And that's Colin McDonald was that horse. Yeah. That's all Grattan with Hazen Kirkpatrick.
Nice.
And the other one back here, I think, is Tommy Devlin with
so that was...
That's back in the 40s, early 40s. Maybe 41, 42.
That's crazy. So
yeah.
So you guys had like...
But that's the old racetrack right there.
Yeah.
That's your Forest Hill up behind it there. There's not a house on it. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And this one here...
That's an old mare I raced her for Herb Kraft, and then I wound up racing her. I bought her.
Yeah.
And I raced her. It's a Secret Affair.
Yeah. We have a couple more pictures of that.
That's when I had McFadgen's horses. I had his horses because that's his uniform, McFadgen's.
Yeah, I looked. I didn't because I remember when I looked at it.
That's McFadgen's uniform. I used to wear his uniform.
So I looked at it. I said, "It looks like Aubrey."
Yeah.
But I was like, "It's not his initial."
That's McFadgen.
So it confused me.
McFadgen's uniform.
And I mean, really, well, this is the same. That's just you and Linda.
That's the same mare. Yeah.
Back then.
Linda and me.
Yeah.
That's Linda and me with Secret Affair.
Yeah. No, that's a very cool picture there for that one. I love that 70s stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, I see that 70s stuff, and it kind of like makes me like. Yeah, this one here, another Tua, I think a Tua.
That's another 2. That's the horse that belonged to McFadgen.
Okay.
That was a 3-year-old. That was his first race. I win with him. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. That was another 2.
This one here, this is you as a youngster there.
That is Amy girl.
Yeah.
That little mare there, Lloyd McKinney bought her from a fellow in Fredericton. She was laid up all winter.
Yeah.
He gave my father 2 weeks to get her ready to race. Now, she wasn't out all winter. Look at the size of her.
Yeah.
And he gave her 2 weeks. He trained her, and then got her ready in 2 weeks, put her in the box.
Yeah. And
I was down to drive her, so I drove her.
Yeah.
And I drove her a couple of times, but she was kind of a fussy little thing. So Lloyd was paying me $5 to drive her. Lloyd McKinney owned her.
Yeah.
So he paid me $5 to drive her. So he went into my father, and he said, "Curry, no need of me paying up $5. I may as well drive that mare myself." Well, Dad said, "You own her. You do what you like, Lloyd. That's up to you."
Yeah.
"Okay, I'll drive her." So we put Lloyd was down to drive her. He took her out and he went to turn her. She'd only turn one way. He went to turn it the other way and she stood up straight.
Oh, wow.
He started hollering, come over to the paddock. He started hollering at me, Bob, come and get on this thing. I'm not going to drive it anymore. So
That's
I
awesome.
got to drive her again.
That's funny.
Then they sold her to Jimmy Wiggins over in the west side,
Yeah.
the drive-in theater.
Okay.
And they bred her and she had a colt.
Right.
And then they had a windstorm, blew the barn down and she got killed.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a sin.
Yeah.
This here is your dad.
That's my dad with a horse called Monty Budlong.
Yeah.
That horse was had a dead heat with him. I drove him that night.
Yeah.
He had a dead heat with timetable.
Yeah.
Timetable's hundreds win.
Okay.
We were only inches apart at the wire, and they both wore the same kind of rigging. They both looked alike. Yeah,
This is you. You're super young. Are you like 15 in this picture here?
yeah. That's Dr. Bunner. That's the horse I win my first race with.
Yeah.
I win with him in I win double dash. The
Yeah.
fellow that owned him gave me $50 when he come down and give it to me.
That's not bad.
That's
for-
me. Like I drove him. Like I'm only a kid.
Yeah, you're young. I mean, I'm guessing like
Yeah.
what, 16?
16.
Yeah.
Probably.
This one here, Little Scout. This is from June 18th, 55.
Yeah, that's Little Scout. I'm winning with him.
Yeah.
That's Milton Downey with Selma Lou on the inside.
Yeah.
Royal Junior and Old Al Angel. Old Al had some pretty horses.
Yeah.
And that was his son with Prince Atina behind him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one here, it's Cherry Frost. This is the horse that you
Yeah.
owned.
That was after I quit driving.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
put it in there because I thought
Yeah,
it'd be kind
yeah,
of
I
cool.
had her after I quit driving. That was Ross McDonald.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ross is a guy I haven't heard about for a long time. I don't know. Is Ross still around? Is
Yeah,
he?
he's still around. He's still around the track. Yeah.
And this here is Tim Rossetti winning the Riverside Mercy for your father's memorial. Curry.
Oh yeah.
Wood Memorial.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was funny as I looked at that and I thought, like, Tim's a great guy. I thought, why is that
Yeah.
in there? And then I realized, oh, it's because
Yeah.
it's father's memorial.
Yeah.
That's why I figured it out.
Yeah. Well, that was the memorial.
Yeah, for him.
Yeah.
And there's your father again. I think it's your father again.
That's my father was. What did I say that horse? Donald Gr.
Yeah.
But that's the old grandstand behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was when they first turned the track around.
So yeah, because you were saying before the track was the opposite way.
Opposite way. Yeah. So it was over the other side.
So yeah.
The back stretch was the home stretch.
So
The back stretch
yeah.
now was used to be the home stretch.
yeah.
And the barns were all over there. On
Okay.
the back stretch on the Golden
So what made
Road.
them change it? Was there any reason to changing it, or
They turned it around. The fellow
Oh.
that bought it.
okay?
Fellow in St. George. What was his name? Oh, Louis Acker.
Okay.
Louis
yeah.
Acker. He bought it from George Kane,
Yeah.
and then he turned it around
Yeah.
and put the big grandstand up.
Oh,
He
okay.
was only an outside grandstand on the other side of the track.
Yeah, yeah. And then the grandstand stood
Yeah,
till
yeah.
2010s.
Yeah.
I remember that place, like that grandstand. Like I remember being up there one day, waiting for my father to finally won a race.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible to say he finally won a race, but
Yeah.
at that point it was racing much. And I was at the top of that grandstand,
Yeah,
and I got down there so quick.
yeah.
I ran. They probably thought I was being chased because I ran down the grandstand,
Yeah,
down the
yeah.
stairs outside, and ran into the track.
Yeah, but see, when Lawson's and them bought it, they put the roof on it.
Yeah,
It never had a roof on it. It was
Okay.
always just open.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, especially in the winter and stuff.
Yeah.
So we have this one here. And sorry for the numbers. It's numbered for a reason because I have it set up on my computer, so I got to make sure I know when it's. But that one there
That
is.
was Bodas Ab, my father.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're say like year wise, that would be like you don't get an exact
Yeah.
year, but idea when that might have been.
Bonus Ab. Let's see. Well, around 59, 60
Oh, nice.
maybe.
Nice.
Yeah.
And here is. This is you a pilot chief, I guess. No.
Pilot's Chief.
Yeah.
He was a nice old racehorse. Yeah, I used to race him. Yeah.
Yeah, nice horse.
That
There.
looks like Jimmy Lang on the outside of me there. Yeah. He used to work for Milton Downey. Jimmy
Okay.
Lang.
Okay. And this one here is from July 11th, 1956. And it's you with Little Scout again.
Little Scout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought him from Lawson's.
Okay.
Lawson's had him, and I bought him. Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
There's-
yeah. So we have that one. This one here, Miracle Samu. I can't pronounce
Miracle
it.
Similou.
Yeah, similar.
I bought her from Big John Davies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I raced her. She won 5 in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, he's gambled over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. And this is your last win that you had. Now was that
That's the last one I win with win the big one.
Yeah. That was
That's
in
Mikey
87.
Doyle there finishing second with his. But then there was 3 more behind that. They were way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the trot class. Ingham put that on, trot class.
So, question with that, was that like your last day racing, or did you still race a little bit? Just
I
down?
had one drive after that.
Yeah,
in
that was
Fredericton.
it. Okay.
But that was the last trotter I win. That's the last win I had.
This
I
one-
drove once more, and then that was it. That was my last drive.
So you started in.
And then we sold this horse to Roach McGregor
Okay.
as a 3-year-old. And Roach raced him right up till he was 14.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you raced from, what, the 50s?
51.
51 to 87.
51, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good career. And this one here, I'm going to take that little thing off. This is you. You can describe that one to me. I got to say, here, just I'll let you move that off there.
That's a bear John Dixon bought
Okay.
at Harrisburg. Yeah. That's a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
I never got to race her.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to her. Something happened to her. But, yeah. That was her. I wasn't too old there either.
Yeah, you're pretty young, maybe early 20s.
Yeah.
And your last one, this is a picture that I came across. This was a fun picture to scan. I had to move it different ways to get it right in there.
Yeah.
But this picture, describe that one to me, because I know
That's-
Wally's in there.
That's a picture taken at Old Home Week on the island.
Yeah.
That's Murray Calder, which
Okay.
is gone. Charlie Price.
Yeah. Charlie.
That fellow there come along with Wally.
Yeah.
There's Wally there.
Yeah.
And that's Gordy.
Yeah.
That's me half cut off.
Yeah.
I'm not half cut, but I'm half cut off.
Because I was funny as I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to when I got it, I was trying to angle it. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this picture? And then I looked like, oh, he's cut off the picture.
Cut off. Yeah, I
That's
cut
why.
off. The picture wasn't wide enough. The camera wasn't wide enough.
You know what's interesting, and I'll be quick and we'll finish up, but you made a pretty interesting comment to me. We were down at the track one day. You never bet. You're not a better, right?
Never bet.
It's just your
I bet one time years ago,
Yeah.
and I was driving this mare. I think it was Nellie J. And the old man had You'll See.
Yeah.
So we put maybe $20 a piece
Yeah.
on this You'll See.
Yeah.
She was going to win.
Yeah.
See, so all right. Who goes by her at the wire but me? And I win. I win the first race.
Yeah.
Oh, so we lost all our money.
Yeah.
So they said to get the money back. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't a lot of money anyway. But
that's fine.
to get the money back, we were putting it on You'll See the second heat.
Yeah.
She was going to, or Nellie J. put it on her the second heat.
Yeah.
So anyway, go out, don't You'll See beat me
Yeah,
the second
exactly,
heat.
yeah,
I said, I'll
that's
never bet again.
Yeah.
And there's only once after that I bet, and I bet with, what was his name? Ewart.
Yeah.
Gary Ewart.
Yeah.
He got me to buy a ticket. I said, no, I don't want to buy. Oh, come on, Bob. Spend $6. Jesus,
Yeah.
don't be scared of $6. I said, it's not the money, I just don't bet. Oh, he said, come on, bet. So I bet, and I still never won.
Yeah.
So I said, that's it. I never bet again.
Yeah, I'm not big on it. I bet a little bit, but I don't have much luck.
No,
I
I
think I
don't.
won, like,
I didn't never bet because, like, really and truly, I had a public stable. Now it
Yeah.
was 4 or 5 different owners.
yeah. But
Now if I start betting, what were they going to say?
it looks
So,
bad, yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I know guys do bet, but I get what you're saying. Because
Yeah.
you're the guy driving.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you betting on the horses,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
the whole Pete Rose thing. Like you
Yeah,
bet on baseball.
yeah, yeah.
You know, maybe he wasn't betting on his own team, but who knows?
I know one night I was driving for Mel McLaughlin. He had, what did he have? He had Bodeview James, and he had another little horse. I had 2 of them.
Yeah.
So this was a Wednesday night. He came down to me before the races, and he said, "Oh, look," he said, "don't win tonight."
Uh-huh.
I said, "Why, Gordy?" He said, "Well, I got company coming on Saturday."
Yeah.
And he said, "If you win tonight," he said, "I'd like to see the horse win Saturday."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, yeah, is that right, Gord?" Yeah, yeah. So anyway, go out. I come to the head of the stretch, and I reached up and I tapped him, and I went right on by, and I win it Wednesday night,
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Mel never come over. He always come over to the barn. He never come over.
Yeah.
So I said, that's all right. So he probably want to shoot me, but I still won with the horse. He never come out to get his picture taken or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was all right. So next morning I went down to feed the horse. I never left there till 12:30 or so,
Yeah.
time I got them put away. So I left the barn and I went home. Went back to the morning, went to feed. Here's the 2 horses no horses in the stall.
Oh, they took them.
He come over and took them after 12 o'clock and give them to another one. Well, I tell you, he give them to Willer Carr.
Well, yeah.
So they went out Saturday. They never win. So I said, good. How's that treat you?
I know. I've heard some stories. We'll leave it at that, right? With that. So, well, that's awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on again, chatting with us. That was great. If you want to know more stories, I'm more than welcome. But you can talk all day for me. But that was great. Now, because we had a good feedback from the first one, so I think everyone will like this. And
we'll see how this one works out.
That will be good. So I appreciate you coming on, Aubrey.
All right.
And
all right, Spot. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy.
Just watch it, live it at Exhibition Park. Come on and live it at Exhibition Park. The real